Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first installment of Tuesdays with Tom. We're going to try this new thing. We're going to try to do it every Tuesday at 9:30. What it is, it's really some coaching on the fly. We're going to have hopefully some people attend, ask questions. We're going to try to do some coaching if we can online. So kind of put that in your calendar, Tuesdays with Tom, every Tuesday at 9:30 on Facebook Live. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I've been in business for 30 plus years. I started out in the copier business, and then a little over 7 years ago, I started this company. It's a franchise operation, but I started this company, AdviCoach of Michigan. And what that is a business coaching firm. And what we do is we help business owners, teams, get better at what they do. Two different areas that we really concentrate on is the transactional coaching, which is really pretty basic, and that is, the number of calls you're making, the processes you have in place, whether or not you have a strategic plan and are following it. And then we also concentrate on the transformational, which is really about the mindset of a business owner or a manager or an executive, and really making sure that your mindset is positive, making sure that you get some of the head trash out of the way, and doing the right things for your company, increasing your leadership skill set, manager skill set, those types of things. So that's kind of what we concentrate on as a business coach. And really 3 areas of your business we really hone in on, and that's really the time aspect, whether you're doing a good job with the time you have, being efficient, being productive, those types of things, as well as your employees. Are they being efficient with the time that they have? Another aspect of our coaching practice is the team aspect, and that is your people. How good is your culture? Do you have good, sound hiring practices, recruiting? But also when you have to terminate or let somebody go, is that done in a professional manner? And then the last aspect is really the money aspect. And we really talk to you about the different aspects of money, whether we're doing lead generation for new sales, whether we're diving into your financials and understanding where money's coming in and where money's going, those types of things. So we cover a lot of aspects of coaching, that type of thing. So we obviously can't cover that every Tuesday, but we try to pick a topic every Tuesday and spend a little bit of time on it. So let's get into some things that we normally talk to business owners about. And I often get asked, Tom, with all the clients that you've had, what's some of the top things that you help business owners with? And I'll tell you, number one is the time aspect of their business. And really it's about making sure that you're doing the things in your business that are, one, very important and high priority, but also making sure that you're making time to do the things that are the most important. A lot of times, and this might not be you, but a lot of times we show up and we get into the tasks and activities of our business, and what happens is that we get kind of distracted by the bright shiny object. We get into something, then all of a sudden we're on a Facebook post or an email trail or those types of things, and we're not really following an agenda or following what we set out to do. Or maybe we haven't even set up a list or a task list at all. So what we try to do is with our coaching firm is help you kind of hone in on what's important in your business, and then set up either the next week or the next day. And certainly with our strategic planning, we can go into a much larger time horizon, but we really help you start to plan your day. And something typically would be like this: if we can get 5 to 7 important tasks done per day, that's a good day, because we've got a lot of other activities that we got to get to as well, such as responding to emails and voicemails and texts and wherever else messages come from, whether they come from Messenger or LinkedIn message, those types of things. But are we scheduling our day properly? And that really starts and stops with what we call time blocking. Can we schedule our day with those 5 to 7 activities, time block those out in your schedule to make sure that those get done by the end of the day? So that's one of the things that we help you out with, and one of the first and most important things we help most business owners with. The next thing that we really help business owners with that's really important is this strategic plan. And we're going to go a lot more into this next week, but really, what's the plan, overall plan? Now, a lot of people confuse a strategic plan with a business plan. They are not the same thing. In fact, from your well-written, well-thought-out strategic plan, you can actually create a business plan out of that for maybe going to the bank for additional financing and those types of things. But really, first and foremost, it's your strategic plan that really is the map or the GPS of your business and tells you where to go. So that's what we help you out with. It's a kind of a longer process. It's not something that can be done in an hour. We typically spend 6 to 8 hours with a business company or owner, and we really talk about things like your SWOT, which is your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. We talk about your core values and core purpose. We have time horizons such as 3 to 5 years out, what you'd like the business to look like, a year out, and then certainly the next 90 days, what's the highest priorities in the next 90 days. So overall, those are some of the things that we talk to business owners about. Other things that we can get into are, hi, Courtney, thanks for joining us today. Other things that we can get into are we can also look at the financials. There's been many times that we've just walked through the financials, not maybe getting into the numbers, so to speak, but just understanding what are the different topics and categories that you've defined, and understanding maybe they're not in the right place, but also understanding why you have put them there or somebody has instructed you to put them there, so that when we pull a report that looks easy, you can make sense of it, because I know a lot of owners may not want to get into their financials a lot because it's intimidating, but we help you understand what they should tell you. If there's a red flag that comes up, we want you to be educated about that as well. So certainly we want to make sure that you're well informed about your own financials. And then we can get into the people aspect. That's another big thing that we help owners with, is that everybody wants a great culture, right? And it's just not like you can wave a magic wand and all of a sudden your culture appears. So we help you put some of these processes in place. And believe it or not, it all starts at the top. So as business owners, I've had conversations over the years that business owners admit to me that they're control freaks. And all I respond with is, welcome to the club, because it's our baby, right? It's something that we've created, we've started, and it really has our personality. And as we start to hire people that are going to take our name, the name of our business, out into the workforce, we want to make sure that they're singing the same song that we would be if we were in their shoes. So we start the process of training the people, helping them having them understand, going back to the strategic plan, our core values, our core purpose, and really saying the same message that we would say if we were out there. So it's extremely important. Now, we don't want to take their personality away from them. We don't want them to become robotic, that type of thing. We want to make sure that they have their own personality, but there's certainly some guiding principles that we want them to understand about our business, some things that we would never do, some things that we always do, so that we can deliver the right message. So again, you'll start to see these topics on an ongoing basis on Tuesday mornings. Some of the other things that we can get involved with for those business owners that might be thinking that it might be time to look around for the possibility of exiting a business, we can certainly get into that as well. We have what we call a comprehensive exit strategy. We have you do an assessment on your own business called the Value Builder assessment. And what that does, it gives us 8 different areas of your business that it concentrates on, and really gives you a grade on how each one of those businesses or areas of your business is doing. I'll give you a quick example. One of them kind of assesses, your health as a business, as far as if we take you as a business owner away as you sell it, can the business stand on its own 2 feet? And because what happens is that a prospective buyer wants to know that that this business is solid, that if we take you away as a business owner, that people stop buying. That's not a good thing if somebody's going to buy your business. So we want to make sure that when we get your business ready to sell, that it's cruising along. It's making money. It's solid financially. We have a few years of solid income that we projected. Those types of things. That's what looks good in this prospective buyer's eyes. So again, a comprehensive exit strategy. If you're someone that's thinking about maybe selling your business within the next 5 years, it's a lot like selling a home. Is that you just don't decide to sell your business next week. We feel at AdviCoach that you have to get your business ready to sell. So again, comprehensive exit strategy. Some of the other things that we certainly help with, and I'll give you a quick story here, is that we had an owner kind of come and say that he had some bad news from one of his corporate, because it was kind of a insurance agency, and he was having some difficulty with trying to get his head clear. And that's also something else that we help you with, and that's what we call the transformation. And that is, we kind of set you down and say, is this going to get in the way? Hi, Sister Renee. How you doing today? Thanks for joining us. So we want to make sure that when you have some difficulty, maybe you've had some negative news, maybe the last month didn't go well in your business, how do we get that mindset of clearing our head, getting the head trash out, and getting back on our feet? Because our people are looking at us, right? If we have employees, we want to make sure that they see us in a positive light, that we are motivating them, that they see us charging ahead, that type of thing. So what we do as business coaches is we slow you down and say, okay, what do we got to do to get by this? What are the steps? And I even had a client say, you know what, everything you've talked about makes sense, but this is the direction I want to go. So he kind of took what I said, kind of the advice, took the counsel, and said, you know what, I'm going to go completely different. And so far, so good. Again, as coaches, we advise, we try to help you with advice and that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, it's still your business. And if you have a gut feel that you need to go in a different direction, listen, that's probably the thing that you probably should do. Morning, Paul. Overall, let me explain a little bit on how you can engage with a coach. Typically, it starts out just with a discussion. We either do it over the phone or in person. We start with a 30-minute kind of initial call, and we really get into some things that, some questioning about your business. Things like, what are some of the challenges you've had? How did you get to this point? Was opening and running a business something that you've always wanted to do? So in that 30 minutes, we kind of we can't go super deep, but we kind of get into your business, whether you've had partners or do have partners, how much of a family business it is, that type of thing. We want to make sure that we kind of grasp those things. A lot of times I'll record it to make sure I've not missed anything. And then at the completion of that call, we kind of come up with a decision about whether you would like to engage in what we call kind of a complimentary business review. And that is where I would come in based on the conversation that we had over that 30 minutes, plus additional conversation that we'll have during the complimentary business review. And we'll talk about what, as a coach, I would advise you to do with your business going forward. And that could cover many aspects of your business depending on your business. So we don't have a cookie cutter approach. We kind of want you to, give us some challenges that you have, some things that you're looking to do. Maybe it's business is going well, but you want to open up a new division or offer a new product or service. And again, we help you put that in place. We help you plan out the strategy and steps for that, and also, engage some of the people that you'd have helping you, that type of thing. Because as you know, if you've been a business owner for any extended period of time, running a business by yourself is extremely difficult. So we want you to engage with partners. We want you to engage with possible contract help, because you can't be an expert in everything. Many of my clients have certainly engaged help from the marketing aspect. They certainly have brought in a bookkeeper / accountant. They've possibly brought in a contract or third-party person to help with the HR. It just depends on what your particular needs are for your business. So after that 90-minute, what we call complimentary business review, we then decide whether coaching is something that you want to do going forward. And so all that is kind of a conversation about what your expectations would be going forward. We'd sign an agreement, and then we'd be ready to go. Now, going back to the strategic plan, we want to make sure that if you don't have one, we'd start there, make sure that we get our arms around everything, kind of understand what the gaps are and those types of things. But just want to make sure that we're covering everything that we need to do and not missing anything in your business. Certainly at this point too, you can ask any questions that you may have about business, and we'll answer those as best as we can. If we need to find out additional information based on an answer or anything like that, we can do that. But certainly feel free to answer or ask any questions that you might have business related, and we certainly can answer it from there. Trying to cover some of the other areas that we might cover in some of the upcoming broadcasts that we have. Some other areas that are some of the, I don't want to say popular, but some of the common areas that we cover is that we always seem to have some issues with some of the employee situations, and I'll go into a couple of topics there. Is that, as the business grows, as an owner, and if you start to hire, whether they're full-time, part-time, or contract labor, many people wear many hats. And so, and as people come into your business, we know that we need to have certain processes and things in place, and those get very important the larger you get. So we want to make sure that before we put those in place, that we've kind of talked about it as an owner and a coach and a staff. What are some of the byproducts? What are some of the things that could happen if we put this in place? So we brainstorm about that. And then once we put it in place, we want to closely monitor what's going on there, that type of thing. I see we have a question. So sorry, I have to get my cheaters out here just to read it. So we have a question from Courtney. It says, at what point do you recommend a small business owner start staffing salespeople? And Courtney, that's a great question, because that's always an issue, right? When do you start? Do we have enough income, that type of thing? So really what you should be doing is really taking a look at the financials, understanding what your capacity is as if you're a solopreneur, or maybe you do already have some employees, part-time employees, that type of thing, and figure out, what your income level is. A lot of times, if you have more than one employee, you try to find out what your revenue per employee is, and then you try to get it to a point where you can not easily, but somewhat comfortably bring somebody in without stressing your financials too greatly. Because a lot of times maybe we're crushed with new business and we want to hire somebody, but what gets in the way, of course, is obviously cash flow. And sometimes, our financials could look really, really good, but sometimes our cash flow isn't the greatest. So we want to make sure that we're looking at our financials, looking at what our cash flow is, making sure that we're comfortable with the income and revenue that we have, and then from there make a good solid decision, whether you're using a coach or an advisor or a mentor. Make sure that we're talking about those issues. Another thing that could creep into that decision as well is how solid are your current commitments as far as your clients, because one of the things that could happen, and you certainly don't want it to happen, but one of the things that could happen is that you could lose a client or two for whatever reason, and then all of a sudden it impacts that new employee, that new contract employee, that part-time person. So you really want to make sure that you have a pretty good stream, cash stream coming in for a consistent amount, and I would say probably a good 6 months before pulling that trigger, hiring somebody as that new position, that type of thing. The other big thing when you start hiring people, and this might make more sense to bring in somebody that's a contract or a 1099 employee, is that you got to make sure you have enough work for them to do. So maybe you start with part-time, maybe you start with a contract person, and the differences here would be if they're part-time, once they're at your business, they're on the clock, right? So that you have to pay them and make sure that they're busy for the times that you have. So let's say you have 20 hours per week. You want to make sure you have enough business or enough work for them to do. With a contract employee, it could be different. Maybe you contract them to work 5 to 10 hours a week, but in this situation, you may not have a consistent workload, 5 or 10 hours a week for them. As a contract employee, you can build that into your agreement that, maybe this week I need you for 8 hours, next week I only need you for 3, those types of things. So there's some differences when you start talking about the different types of employees as well. You want to make sure that you have enough work for them, because up until now you may be a person that is a solopreneur that's doing everything, but then how do you divest the work that you're currently doing? There's going to be training issues involved in there. You have to get them up to speed, that type of thing. So, Courtney, hopefully that answers some of your questions. If you want to go more in detail, certainly either ask a follow-up question, or we can certainly, if you send me an email or we don't get to the answer, we can certainly answer it via email as well. Another question that I get my glasses back out for. Jamie joined us. Jamie Taylor joined us. Thanks, Jamie. And how do you work with teams to promote healthy co-worker relationships? Again, another great question, something that we at AdviCoach really assess when we are starting with you, is that we do behavior assessments. And what that is it helps with the culture of your workplace. And so an example would be this, is that I have a client that has 5 staff, and then they have some employees underneath that. And so what we did is we assessed everybody using the DISC behavior assessment. And what that does is that just kind of gives us what your personality is. There's no right or wrong. There's no pass or fail. It just identifies the types of personality that you have, and the type of kind of the way you behave in certain environments, the things that you like, the things that you dislike, the ways you communicate. And why that's important is that, we've all probably had coworkers that have rubbed you the wrong way. And that's okay. And you may have felt that, they're doing it deliberately to you to make you upset or pick at you, that type of thing. But what we discover is that it's really just their personality, and it may be the way they're treating everybody, and they may not even know it. So what we do is we assess typically everybody in an organization so that we know, and they would know how to communicate better with their coworkers. So that will certainly improve the communication, or should improve, because once we assess you, the job's not done. As a leader and or a manager or an owner, we want to make sure we're monitoring the communication. We want to make sure that we're understanding from a manager or leader's standpoint that we're practicing what we preach. We're communicating or trying to communicate differently. And remember, this isn't something that we put in place today and it all works itself out tomorrow. It's a process, so we work at it. So some of the assessments in some of my situations, as far as my clients, they actually post these on their wall, who they are, on their door. So as the person walks in, they can see this DISC assessment, kind of take a quick look and go, oh yeah, I remember this person is a high D, high I in this particular example. And then they go in possibly with a different mindset as opposed to going into a conversation like they always have and always come out with a less than satisfactory kind of result, that type of thing. So we do assess for that, but we also can also take it to the next level, which we call a leadership 360. So one of the things that we want, hey Cooper, one of the things we want to do is kind of understand and assess your leadership skills as maybe an owner or a manager. And so what happens here is that you may or may not know, but self-assessment is one of the toughest things that we can do as a human. And so sometimes we may be doing things that is counterproductive of what we really want to happen. So we do what's called a 360. What we do is we assess the leader, they assess themselves, and then we have their staff assess them. And then we want to make sure that we have a pretty good model going forward of what some of the skills they can improve, and some of the skills that we can tell them, hey, you're doing well here, but maybe it's just a tweak. And then certainly some of the skills that they got nailed, we continue doing those. Certainly the person that takes the leadership assessment has to be open for feedback. It's a situation where you want to be coached to be a better leader for your organization. just talked to somebody this morning that has, and he thought he was small, he has 42 employees. So now it might be the time to take a look at themselves and say, what can we be doing to make a better, make myself a better leader, help move this company into, the next level. They certainly have many locations, but one of the things that he wants to do is certainly improve himself and his communication level to his people. Now, certainly an owner or a leader can get, the company can get so big that you might not be able to touch each one of those particular employees, but then therein lies the next step, and that is how to create leaders around you. And so from that 360, we make sure the leader skills are, we're working as a coach to improve those skills. But then the next step would be, okay, now your staff's next. How can we improve them as leaders, looking for opportunities, bringing good information? And then really the last part of Jamie's question is the biggest thing with most companies is that transparency is not there. Employees think owners are, keeping stuff from them or hoarding all the money. And a lot of times owners think that their employees are not giving their all when they're at work. So one of the things that we really want to try to do is work on that communication. DISC is a good start. Leadership 360 is another nice level. But we also want to start with how to have good, open, transparent meetings going forward. A lot of you might say, I hate meetings. They're just rehash of old information, that type of thing. But one of the things that we want you to understand is that as an AdviCoach or as a business coach, we actually encourage more meetings, better and structured meetings, maybe shorter meetings, getting to the point, such as our daily business huddle, and that comes from kind of the Patrick Lencioni series on death by meeting, is that we want to make sure that we have those daily, if possible, quick meetings that we get everybody off on the right page. It's typically at the same time every day, early as possible. If you can't, typically what happens is that many people say, well, I can't get there on this day or I can't get there on this day. But everybody's responsible for being there, and we make sure that technology is available. Maybe it's a broadcast on Facebook. Maybe it's a teleconference. But let's say we picked 7:30 in the morning each morning to meet, getting everybody off on the right foot. It's a 15-minute with only 3 topics. And that way the communication starts to evolve, making sure that if there's important things that we've got to tell people, an announcement, maybe an emergency or something that we congratulate somebody for what they did either the last week or day or that type of thing. So one of the things that we really want to encourage is more meetings at a specific time, consistent time during the day, and making sure we get that communication, and information out there. Going back real quick to the meetings is that, again, we want it to be a safe place for people to share. We don't want to, chastise them or, cut them down or make them feel like I can't share because that my boss or somebody in the meeting made me sound stupid. We want to make sure that we have an open place, safe place for people to discuss these hard issues. So again, as a coach, we help you with that. We help you how to monitor and facilitate a meeting, because it's not easy. Not everybody can do it. Not everybody's got the skills to do it, and so we help you with that. So I see as the clock's winding down here to our 30 minutes, today's session's coming to a close. Again, remind you, we're going to do this every Tuesday morning at 9:30. It's called Time with Tom. For some reason, I had a mental block there. And again, it's about business. We want to make sure that we answer your business questions. So please, if we haven't answered all your questions today, get a hold of us either through Facebook or on email. The email will be thamp, THAMP, at advicoach.com. Love to hear your questions, and we'll take the time out to get back to you within 24 hours once we receive that. But again, or you can also tune in next Tuesday at 9:30, and we'll be here, answer any questions that you have. Thanks for attending today. Love the fact that you stopped by and joined us, and we'll see you soon. Thank you very much.